Welcome to Cinema Discussions. Tonight we are discussing Time Raiders, 2016 Chinese fantasy action adventure film directed by Daniel Lee. This film in limited release here in America, but China being one of the largest film markets out there, is this probably in much wider release over there. And my name is John. I am joined by Vaughan. Is our senior Tomb Raiding correspondent?
Well, we don't want to be stepping on any of the franchises.
Well, look, they say tomb raiding in this movie. That I'm not talking about any specific franchise. It's just the process of raiding tombs.
Yeah,
you know?
because that's such a big thing.
Yeah, it's a thing that
totally
happens.
Common.
I can name at least 3 different film franchises that involve raiding too. 4 different film franchises. I've got Indiana Jones, The Mummy, National Treasure, and I can't remember the name of the other tomb raiding movie. It's got like Angelina Jolie in it. Whatever. Whatever the other one. But Time Raiders. Time Raiders is this one. So before we get into the details on this one, how would you recommend this film? This is one that you saw the trailer for this one, and you were definitely excited
I
about
actually
it.
saw the trailer for this one in our other review, Train to Busan.
Yeah,
along with a couple other titles. It says, I checked on YouTube. The trailer that I saw was the 1-minute trailer, which I would say is probably the ideal length for a trailer.
Yeah,
it's such that you're not ruining the whole damn movie for people.
Yeah, and I saw this trailer too, and it gives you the grandeur of it. It shows you what style of film this is.
It was actually a very polished trailer.
Yeah,
it doesn't really spoil anything, but it gives you like lots of really interesting details that will be in the movie.
Yeah.
But going into and actually watching the movie, like the final product turns out kind of different than what the trailers at least seem to be selling.
Yeah, I think I got a little different view from the trailer, and I think that this film pretty much was what I expected from the trailer. But this is one that in another Chinese fantasy film I can think of that's similar in style to this one is Journey to the West, which I believe that was a Stephen Chow film. It's one of his later films after Shaolin Soccer and all of those.
Oh, okay.
But it's one of his more recent films. And it's actually the first Journey to the West movie. I don't remember if they've come out with further ones, but it's supposed to be the first in a series. But
Journey to the Far West?
Yeah, but it's this grand Chinese adventure movie, and I mean, you look at the scale of films that they do in China because it's such a large film market. It is very similar to the big budget studio films that you get here in America.
Watching the opening credits, there were like 6 production companies involved in this. It didn't seem like any small undertaking.
Well, that's another thing that I also see a lot in American independent films. It's generally like the smaller films that you get so many production companies with over in America. Yeah, whereas the bigger the film is, it's just Universal Pictures and that's it.
So getting through the movie, it slowly turned into kind of a action adventure B movie.
Yeah, kind of becomes more a thing like The Mummy.
I also noticed at roughly the puppet scene, which you see in the trailer, like so you'll know what's coming.
Yeah.
Which is, I would say, like roughly the end of Act 2. Kind of that part of the movie. The CGI from that point forward, I think they realized that they were going to go over their CGI budget.
Potentially, or maybe it's just
it kind of seemed like the detail of the CGI was dropping down.
I think it was just the style of what they're using in it.
Maybe.
That and that was something I did pick up in the trailer. The CGI in this film is not the scale that you would see in most big budget American films. It's not as polished as you would see, at least in a modern film. It's
there's definitely no Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, this feels a little more early '90s kind of CGI stuff.
But yeah, saying that, but there are also some very well crafted shots.
Yeah,
that are like highly kind of artistic shots that you would see in a lot of Asian movies.
Oh yeah, the cinematography is really great in this one, and I think it's a very interesting story that is there's a lot of complex things in this story that can make certain elements of it hard to follow.
Mm-hmm.
I think the basic straightforward tomb raiding aspect of this is pretty. You can get you can follow a lot that's going along with this and still enjoy a lot of the movie without understanding all of the things that all the information they're giving you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of info they're giving you on a lot of these characters that I felt that it was you didn't get. It was tough to get a good conclusion with it, the way they were going with everything. So I think that this one is, even though it's a large scale movie, unlike the smaller films that we've been talking about, or at least the smaller stories that we've been talked about in foreign films. I think this one might not. I find it harder to recommend this one to people as ahead of the other ones.
It would depend on what they were looking for.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to watch a movie, because they make so few movies that are like that, these action adventure puzzle solving movies in the style of Indiana Jones and National Treasure, like those films
I think
happen
it probably
so
is kind of
infrequently.
close to Indiana Jones. They don't explicitly say that they're in present day.
Yeah,
it seems like they're kind of recent past, sort of like what Indiana Jones was. Except for the mercenaries you see, they seem to have modern technology.
Yeah, their weapons are pretty modern in there. Well, actually, I think I would even say distant future, or not near future.
Near future,
because of the technology that the one evil guy has.
So the villain, not so.
So
villain.
we'll get into that in a moment too with this. But so I think that if you're into foreign films, if you're heavily into foreign films, then this is a interesting adventure story to watch. And definitely if you're into the Indiana Jones style movies, this is another good one to check out. And I think probably good on a home viewing to be able to understand it a little more, and you'll be able to go back and rewatch elements of it. Just watching in a theater, there's things that I wanted to pick up on that I felt as it's going so quickly through it that I missed some things.
For the average moviegoer, I'd probably skip it.
Yeah, I would skip this one for average moviegoers. So this it's something you really got to be into to check out. At least here in America, I think even this is the kind of thing I know with where Chris here, he's more inclined to go towards the artistic small budget films than the big studio films.
Hate it.
Yeah, I don't. The Chinese version of Chris would not be into this film. Because it is this big studio film, this big large scoping film that is getting a lot of visual things out there and showing a lot of action, and not as focused on a nice story plot and delving into to humanity and different aspects on that. So
you see, Chris, we have you figured out.
Yeah. But if you want a nice big scoping action thing, then this is a good one. But I think especially if you're the tomb raiding things, that's this for you. So now, spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
Dive into this movie, into Time Raiders. So already interesting with the title alone. Time Raiders makes you think.
Trying to
when you put time, when time is the first word in your movie, and it's a fantasy film, my first thought is time travel.
You kind of expect to see time travel of some kind.
Yeah, and I guess in a way, you've got the people of the ancient times that have gone through and preserved themselves in this tomb so that they can...
You got these two people who are living in stasis for the last 3,000 years.
Yeah, so they've time traveled.
Sort of.
Yeah, you know...
In a manner of speaking.
You know, I don't know how time travel would work in a way, but if it's if you still have to be there, if you create this time machine, the way that like in the movie, the I think it was the latest version of the Time Machine, based off of the H.G. Wells book or story. It still came out a while ago. But
was that like mid 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, when he's traveling in time, you see the world going on around him, and he's the time machine's going there and staying in one place. And my thought is of someone looking out onto him, like, because there's ones even when someone's half in it and half out, and they like die of old age because when he's holding on to them or something.
Oh yeah.
But so they don't address this poorly in they make the mistake of not addressing it in the film. But my thought is on the outside you just see a dude there in the time machine.
Oh yeah.
Moving very slowly.
You see him for just a fraction of a second as he passed through your moment of time.
But my thought is,
like,
what if it wasn't like that, and what if it was a person in stasis, where for him, everything's going quicker, and no time is passing, but to the outside, they're seeing just this box sitting there, forever.
The machine. Oh.
Yeah, just staying there forever, and they're on the outside, because to the person on the inside who's in stasis, no time has passed, and now I'm here. I've gone from this, I've been frozen, and now I'm there. Like, that's a simplistic way of it's the possible time travel as now of like deep freeze,
to
unfreeze.
Looking at it from the outside,
because if it's a thing that's actually traveling through time, then yeah, it would just be a blip in that moment. But if it's a thing that is preserving someone through time, and so that person on the inside, if it's just speeding up or like slowing down the time for the person inside, but for everything on the outside is still the same. So it's slowing down time for the person on the inside, so that if
he is slowing down, then yeah, he would appear motionless.
Yeah.
But
so that's
if he is experiencing time faster in his bubble, then you would be here in this moment, this split second of time. And like,
yeah. So I think if this is the other way, this is their time travel to appropriate to allow them to use time in their title. Their time travel is that they're traveling through time in this moment of stasis, and they're just always there and can be awoken at any moment.
But the movie isn't from their perspective.
No, but the time travel is. So, and then the other thing with time is we've got the countdown clock that's inside the thing, or that's counting down.
There's the key that is essentially a 3,000-year clock.
Yes, and then we get to the giant clock at the end when you find this giant clock thing there. And you've got this family of Tomb Raiders, because this movie should have been called Tomb Raiders.
Yeah, can't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Tomb Raiders, this is plural. It's a different title, because it's this. They constantly say Tomb Raiders because they are Tomb Raiders. They are people who raid tombs, and it's this family of Tomb Raiders, and the young kid who wants to be a Tomb Raider. I guess we start out the film in this. What is it like? Kind of World War II era. Looking thing where they're these European / American white peoples are coming in, and they're like, oh, we want the last of these tile things.
They're in a monk village, a Tibetan monk village in the mountains.
And
there are some generic white people.
Generic white people.
There, the dude is looking for something
vaguely Nazi-esque kind of.
I kind of thought they were Russian.
Yeah, well, either any kind of evil white person of the World War II era.
White person,
yeah. It all kind of in that thing kind of blends together in there.
Yeah.
But so we start off with those guys, and then we jump to Wu's warehouse in storyteller present time.
Storyteller present after the fact.
Yes, and this is thinking. Now he's looking back on this story,
his adventures.
But the adventure, which is after the first scene that we've shown. So we've gone from this now here, and now we've jumped back to this other time, which then but which eventually does. They tell you how that related to that time that they first showed you.
Yeah.
In there, and then they're also jumping around a lot in the story because they go back to when the guy was a kid, and then he gets he finds that object, steals a little coin off of it, makes it into a necklace. He's like, here, you can have that back. I don't know, I didn't upset the balance of things. I just took the little thing. Yeah. So Forever has that little coin that he's supposed to give back to the dude.
Yeah, so they do use the nonlinear time function, but not in a not in as interesting a way.
No, it's just in a way to tell the elements of the story that they need to tell at the time, and jumping around to show those moments. But our main story, which happens in the raiding of the tomb, and the two teams going after it. So we've got our tomb raiding team, which wants to find riches, and is there for that. And then we've got the evil team. The evil
mercenaries who work for our generic white villain.
Yeah, multinational mercenary team going for the white villains. So they are going in for to get the specimens, the plant creatures.
Well, initially he is looking for one of these copper plates.
Well,
that are 24 divine pieces of copper with information on them.
Yeah,
it's supposed to tell you how to find immortality.
Yeah, and the plant creatures though are immortal creatures made with this technology, and so he wants those specimens to examine those before he uses it on himself. Yeah. It's the kind of I guess this would be like Last Crusade. It's looking for the Fountain of Youth.
The chalice.
Yeah. Well, that was it's the youth that they're looking out for in the chalice, which can then give immortal life. So that's the kind of thing they're looking for there. Is an old guy looking for a way to be young forever, but doing it remotely. And he's got the technology that they used in I know at least was it Alien versus Predator. That they use little robots that scan the whole cave system.
Yeah, they have
was it that one or no? Was it
very weirdly shaped, but essentially drones.
Prometheus, I think
Prometheus. Prometheus had those.
I think that's what it was. It wasn't Alien Spirit Prometheus. I knew it was one of the Ridley Scott universe.
And Stargate universe.
Okay, yeah, it's a thing of easy little thing of how are we going to get this. Be able to know where these things are and use that device later on. We first need to scan the whole place, and we can scan them by having these little scanner bots. It's just an easy little sci-fi thing to put in there, and helps you out for later on. Kind of it makes it so that video game world works. We can have the overworld map. So that kind of plays out like a video game for a lot of this film too.
Yeah. You go back and forth between battle scenes and puzzle solving, and then back to a battle and back to more puzzle.
Yeah, and I think I enjoyed the puzzles throughout the film. You get some.
Yes, some of the puzzles were I want to say highly complex, but ultimately not that complicated.
Yeah, you got the Parappa the Rappa dance scene in there. There were like several moments of some pretty funny parts. At least in my theater, it was probably like half full, largely Asian people. Trying to think if there was anyone else in my theater. I didn't notice it. I think my theater was completely empty when I saw this movie. I was the only person in there watching this one.
No, I had like several Asian people in the theater with me.
So my theater was dead quiet during those scenes.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, they didn't laugh at all.
I laughed at it. They laughed at it. Okay.
Yeah.
At several parts were pretty funny.
Yeah, no, they get some good moments of comedy throughout it, and I think that it's reminiscent. Again, thinking about I've seen now, especially through instant discussions, we've watched so many Stephen Chow movies, who's just a big Chinese director, and the comedy that he puts throughout his films, which is this wacky sense of humor that I allow him to have, that it doesn't fit in the type of movie that he's making a lot of times. Like it's so out there, but in watching this movie, it's reminiscent of that. It doesn't have so much. It doesn't have as much as Stephen Chow puts into his. Not as much comedy, But I get, well, like Journey to the West has less comedy in it than his other films, but there's still enough in there. It's that kind of thing where I think it's the way that in any American drama or adventure movie, you're putting in elements of comedy throughout it, and there's lots of jokes in Indiana Jones movies, but the comedy they put into these ones, from the limited number of these Chinese adventure films that I've seen, it's more wacky comedy that seems out of place in that in the world that you've created for us, in this dramatic world that we're seeing. The comedy that you're putting in there seems like you've changed genre, you've changed style of film. Whereas if you've got that throughout, then it just becomes a I don't know, Adam Sandler, Mike Myers,
kind of Adam Sandler
comedy thing. Yeah, like that. If it was that throughout, then it's that kind of movie, and it's just labeled a comedy that happens to be an adventure movie.
Yeah. This
is an adventure movie that has moments of comedy in it. So I think that those are fun moments in there, but it doesn't define the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was worried about those little the worm creatures when they were getting out.
Yeah.
It's lucky that they had a magical bond to the main villain, because
the evil empress.
Because if they did not have a magical bond, they were gone.
They were long.
Those things were out, and humanity's destroyed at that point. They're going to multiply, and it's going to destroy everything. Yeah. It's going to be bad times. And another thing I was thinking of is they do this whole journey down into this thing and through the desert, and the final place that they get to is open air.
It's completely open, invisible from the sky.
Yes, could have helicoptered in there at any point. No one ever noticed this.
Nobody ever does a flyby of these mountains ever.
Over and saw that. I mean, my thinking is when they built this initially
over an active volcano.
Yeah, when the initial people built this, you can think of there's no these mountain passes are so difficult to get across. There's no way that anyone would have gone across
just
there.
Wander back
yeah, they're not thinking about that. But in the modern time,
years later,
we've got the ability to fly over this. Like, hey, what's that down there?
What's that big white thing down there?
Especially if there's like an area where they're looking in. I don't know. I would have done a flyover with a helicopter on this. Be like, we just go that way.
Yeah.
Just go right down there.
Yeah.
And get to the end of this.
Yeah.
Makes it a less interesting movie, but just having that open air at the end, just without something opening up and revealing it, it's Crystal Skull, where the thing opens up at the end and you've got the thing. But had it been open the whole time, it doesn't matter. Just the journey to get in there isn't important. But this way that we get to see the fun puzzles throughout it, and we learn more about our mystery man.
Our mystery spiritual monk warrior.
Yeah.
Who seems absurdly overpowered.
Yeah.
As far as warriors go.
Yeah, he's got immortality in him. And
or he at least doesn't age.
I think he's
probably more or less immortal.
Yeah, I think it's for all intents and purposes.
But he
immortal.
does get hurt though.
Yeah, no, he's and the kind of thing like any immortal person, kind of cursed by the immortality and doesn't want it anymore.
Yeah, I think he's essentially biologically immortal.
Yeah,
but not really immortal.
So he has the magic blood that he can use that to break people out of the trances. He can ward off evil spirits with it. On top of having the ability to hold Mjolnir.
Apparently he's strong enough to lift up a sword made by a meteorite.
Yeah.
like it's nothing.
But there was the other dude, they're like, oh, that guy's obviously going to be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
We know that one. Well, he doesn't get a chance necessarily until like the battle, because he goes after the mystery guy.
Yeah.
To get it. And he had picked it up, and then you find out that that's just the sheath.
That's the sword and the sheath.
And so then he pulls it out and you get more of that.
Yeah, but I don't get how that nobody figured it out. They said they've been hanging on to this sword for a couple of centuries in this family.
I think it was something like they were when they were saying at the beginning, like, as you all know, whoever picks up the sword goes along with us. Like, this is a thing that happens all the time. That
it's like they do this on every trip.
This is their general selection process.
Yeah.
I love the.
But nobody could pick it up.
I love the cabinetry that they built in this thing.
Yeah, like the
bookshelf,
the coffin cabinets.
Well, they start with they have the bookshelf that they pull out this trunk that they open up and then they slide out and then there's more things there and it becomes this large bookshelf.
Yeah. There was the rolling book cabinet from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, where I was like, I want one of those.
Yeah, like those are kind of cool.
And then they have the cool desk that pops up that they're working on.
The coffin desks.
Yeah, they pull those and it like flips up and it has all these drawer things. Like I just loved the cool woodwork in that. I'm like, I want this furniture.
I want to know how much work went into constructing those.
Oh, so much work.
Yeah.
But it makes me jealous for those things. I love those cool things. So you already get that before you even get into the temple where you normally see those kinds of puzzles and things. So I think I like that element going through there where it's not only in all these other films, National Treasure especially, you get these weird puzzles that are built into these places that are so elaborate. But outside of that world,
would have been impossible for them to actually construct.
Yeah. But then outside of that, you don't see it. So now you show where you've got these elaborate contraptions that people have built in this outside world. And then you go in there and you also have that. But we've also got magic in this world too. So that's the kind of thing where, I allow that for this universe. They have the magic where it's not as cool as to think of. Any of the at least Indiana Jones and the Tomb Raiders and the Mummies all have magic in them. They have elements that are fantastical and supernatural in them. Which is why I wasn't so upset when Crystal Skull had aliens in it as most people were. 'Cause I'm like, well, they had supernatural elements in the other ones. Like, what is? So now
they did find the ark.
You're okay with them having spirits and ghosts and all of these things going, but aliens is too weird for you.
The ark is real.
You can't go that step. So anyway, but I think. From what I remember of National Treasure, it doesn't have any supernatural elements to it. It's purely weird mechanical puzzles that are too elaborate for them to actually create. But still, it's based in a physical world. So you've got a lot of things that they've definitely built up. A lot of cool Rube Goldberg machines in there that are super cool and turn into weird CGI when it gets too impractical. But a lot of cool elements, the flesh-eating bugs in there, and all these interesting dangers that they fall into. I liked all of those in each of the rooms with the traps. I mean, when they first get in, and it's just this giant pit that they have to overcome by getting in there after the battle that they have to pursue. That's not even part of the temple itself. It's just they have to go into the battle. But I liked all the elaborate puzzles that they have to battle through, and then you've got these giant creatures that are overpowered, strong things that they cannot defeat on their own. But the magic guys,
the blue guys, the blue kind of warrior generals of the villain who's buried in the middle of the temple.
Yeah, and then you got the queen boss doing her dance.
Like weirdly out of place kind of dance moves.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't, because she has to do her own things while the CGI tentacles are not there.
This is a fun movie where the CGI ramps up the whole time. Like you get more and more cartoonish CGI introduced throughout the film as you go on.
Unfortunately, they have to.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where you look at it you have to look at it from the point of view of this is a story that they're telling, and this is the way that these people were able to tell this story. And so you have to accept the cartoony CGI as you go through it. You're not looking at it as a documentary, whereas if your effects have been done perfectly so that they are indistinguishable from real life, it does allow you to enter into that world and to see the reality of it and be like, oh, this is you could be more of a part of it. Whereas that's that thing that takes you out of it. So now you are just an observer of a story. But you can still enjoy it from that point. It doesn't ruin it. But I know there are a lot of people who can just like say that the CGI can completely take them out of it and I get in that moments, and a lot of times it builds a barrier between the audience and the world of the film. That literally it takes you out of the story, but you can still enjoy the thing. So what happened at the end? What was?
I'm not sure what that ending sequence is, because I've seen similar things in like in anime and other movies. The dialogue makes reference to what our younger lead male says in the beginning of the movie. It's like, should I tell the story of, or should it
be me telling the story?
Me telling the story of him, or the warrior monk, or the warrior monk telling the story about me.
Yeah.
So they're kind of making the implicit conclusion that it's really about the two of them coming together for this.
Yeah, and that they've now taken off on other adventures after that or something.
Yeah, but then the video montage that goes along with it is different parts of the scene where they cross paths, but out of order, kind of suggesting that what was that one saying? All of this has happened before. All of this will happen again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was trying to keep up with the subtitled and the video at the same time.
Yeah, like does our storyteller become a time traveling immortal that then goes back and helps himself, and it's the same dude in different has something then happened, and then a cyclical.
While the current warrior monk, it becomes the guy in the gold mask in that temple in the beginning.
Yeah, maybe because he as he's putting on that mask and they're having the
because the boy Wu, he has all these dreams all the time, going back to that time he snuck into a temple, which had a really bang up security system.
And as he's like playing with the cards and stuff, he's got some sort of mysticism and some sort of connection to the magical world in some way in there. There's something going on with that, but I completely couldn't follow it.
There's some kind of subtext that we are missing. Being non-Asian.
Yeah, it's a thing where I'm thinking it's a language barrier thing. It's something that either doesn't come across in the translation, or culturally it's not something I can pick up on there. Or in just the way that I have to view this film, in just reading through the subtitles, I'm not picking up on it. Because I love weird, twisty things of cyclical things, like the Matrix things. I love those kinds of stories, but I'm not sure if that's exactly what's going on here. I was puzzled by the end, and not in a way of like trying to put a puzzle together. It's kind of like it's a puzzle like the all the pieces were kind of water damaged. And I'm like, I think are these supposed to, like, they're not even, the edges were kind of cut off on some of them. Like, I can't even put it together. Like, I'm missing the ability to do this, and it's all kind of
I think they're from different puzzle sets.
Yeah, like, I don't even know if those are the same. Am I missing something here, or is this how it's supposed to look? Because it looks like this weird thing.
There is a jigsaw puzzle that has no corner pieces.
There's all sorts of crazy ones like that, and
it's like for the person who just hates their life.
Yeah. But the worst one are the no corner pieces, but it's the magic eye puzzles, so that you can't really tell until it's all together.
And
so it's one of those things where it's I wasn't picking up on the ending, and I felt bad about that. Like, I feel like it's my fault as a viewer for not following it correctly. Like, I wasn't paying attention in the right ways to be able to pick up on this.
And I'd have to have like the dialogue to go over a couple of times and then watch it again.
Yeah.
Because in several places there is just a blast of dialogue. You got to read really quick to keep up with it. I know I missed a couple of things.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, if this were a dubbed film,
Mm-hmm.
If this had been dubbed into English, maybe I could have followed this easier. And there's a lot of people are very against that in movies, in foreign films, and I understand that. I want to hear how the actual actors are saying it, but then again, when I don't speak the language, I don't pick up on their acting, their intonation the same way anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dubs that I hate. It's mostly in animated films that you'll see dubs on things. I enjoy the English dubs of the Miyazaki films and seeing those ones. I like that, and I can enjoy this. I can enjoy the film in that way without because when you're reading, you're focusing on that and not getting to see the visuals. There's a lot of moments in this film where I wanted to look at the visuals that they're presenting, but they've got the dialogue on the bottom that I've got to read, and so it's going back and forth. However, luckily in this film there is a lot of English.
Yeah, kind of a weird amount of English.
Yeah, because we've got our protagonists that are not protagonists, our antagonists who are
the
English
evil
speaking.
old man that speaks kind of bad English.
Yeah, I mean, I still read the subtitles for a lot of it, because a couple times where I couldn't understand him, but still,
and a couple of times where I'm not sure what he was saying, but the audio does not match what his mouth was doing.
Oh yeah, there were a couple times where the audio didn't match, so it possibly dubbed over at some point, and there were times where the words on the screen were different from the words that he was saying, slightly enough that it then makes you question every other translation, and there were some translations that the Chinese speakers were saying that were American phrases in a way that, like, colloquialisms and things, and I'm like, are they actually saying that, or is that a translation so that we understand the terms?
There was that weird part at the end where our characters are now like flipping their languages. Mm-hmm. I think like the old guys spoke a little Chinese.
Yeah.
Our young male Wu was
started speaking English. Yeah.
And then the female mercenary does English and Chinese.
So I like that too. It's the kind of what I really liked about Inglourious Basterds and them using the languages for each of these characters. Even though you still have the majority of the movie in English, you've got the French characters speaking French, you've got the German characters speaking German, unless they're speaking to someone who's speaking a different language and they need to translate with that. But that you've got the languages that they're actually going to be speaking, and it's not just all formed into your common language, so that it makes it easier for the audience. I like that in this film and the way that they did it in there. Even though for me it's I'm the language that I'm listening to is one of the foreign languages from the film in the native speaking. So that was interesting. And also interesting that in the theater that I saw it in, they had the subtitles in 2 languages.
In Chinese and English.
Yeah. Throughout the whole film. So that was interesting as well. Didn't take it away from me because I couldn't read the other one anyway. So I'm only reading the English ones. Yeah. I think the big thing for this movie for me is just the ending. That I mean, throughout the film is just mixed with the ending. Kind of plays towards the other elements of the film where it makes it kind of muddied to follow the motivations, mostly of the I don't know, anyone else besides I got the motivation of the main white guy who wants to get immortality, and then there's the motivations of the other guys want riches, and then the young kid wants to raid a tomb. That's about it for all of those. They're not looking for things to be in a museum. It's just because they like raiding tombs. The meanings behind things, that just that ending, I think really to me, where
it kind of seemed like nothing got completely resolved.
Anything else you need to say about this movie before we get our ratings for that?
No, I think we've got pretty much the movie down.
So what would you how would you rate this one?
I was like, I want to give it a fair rating, but I try not to compare it to American movies that we just understand better.
Yeah. But I mean, but to the same degree, you know, I can't fairly rate this movie how it stands up with other Chinese cinema things, because I only see the couple that come to America, and that you know, get talked about the most often. Like this isn't one that has been being talked about by people. Like,
I mean,
the reason I watched the Stephen Chow
Crouching
films is
Tiger.
because Crouching Tiger, any of the Stephen Chow films, Kung Fu Hustle, any of those things that make a big scene because they, you know, gotten over here. Those are, you know, the more accessible of those movies that they get out here. So this is another one that's probably only playing here because you've got people who are from that culture living in the area. To watch those films.
It was only like 3 theaters around here.
Yeah. So it, you know, so I can't judge it from the point of view of that, so I shouldn't even try really to say how Chinese audiences are going to view this movie. So I can only say it for how I personally view this movie, and potentially how other people who watch the same movies as I do view it. And you know, it's not 5 stars, it's not 4 stars, it's not 1 star, and
no,
I don't think it's 2 stars. There's a lot of entertaining stuff in this, so it's that 2.5 to 3 range for me for this film, and you know, 2.5 for me is just middle of the road, like it was a movie, and 3 is just slightly better, like this is a good movie, entertaining movie. So the only thing that would lose at that 3 stars for me is just the ending, that the unresolved nature of it, and that I'm not getting it, and I'm sure that's a cultural barrier thing, but then there's always the chance that it's not a cultural barrier thing, and like if there's a Chinese response that, like, in China they're like, no, we don't get this doesn't make any sense, like I'd love that part of it. I want to know.
If you know what happens in this ending, write to us.
Yeah, if you, oh man. Just thinking about this, that's the problem. It's got to be someone who's in Hong Kong, because in mainland China, they're restricted access to the internet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Darn, we're not gonna be able to get that. No, but I mean, but if you're from China, watching this in some way,
if you're a Chinese American.
Yeah, I know little to nothing about mainland China, except that I've had friends who have just visited there, and you know, they're unable to access the internet while they're over there. But as far as I know from that, but
in any case,
if you know that stuff, let us know. Let us know what you thought of the ending. So your star rating, though.
I wanted to give it a 3.
Yeah.
I think it'll be 2.5.
I feel bad.
It has positive elements.
There's so much good stuff in the movie.
Yeah.
Like if you just take the middle chunk of the tomb raiding of the temple, like that, there's so much good in there.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, the CGI knocks it a little bit, but it's still there. The thoughts are all there, and it's very well done. And it's the kind of thing where you take this movie, you take all the elements, all the sets, and everything. You put it in the hands of Spielberg, and you just say, redo this movie. But you're allowed to change like dialogue up a bit, but keep all of the temple and puzzle elements the same, and you just redo that.
Yeah.
And try to keep the story as close to the original, but make it make sense to you.
Oh yeah.
Then this could be a really entertaining film, and of course people would be like, it's nothing like the old Indiana Jones. It's not as good, but
the dissatisfying ending is kind of holding it back.
Yeah.
There has to be something we're missing.
There has to be.
Yeah.
I need to know. I was hoping to get more out of you. Like it was something that I missed that you got, and then
it might take me another couple of viewings, and which we'd have to wait for a DVD for.
And then it's an annoying thing where if it is, you know, not our fault on there, and you view it more times, and you've wasted this time on this film. That's even more annoying.
Like, wow, there's really nothing there.
That's so unsatisfying. But thank you for watching this one. Please, if you know anything, if you can help us out with this ending,
we need to know.
Let us know. In the comments below on our YouTube is a great way to do that. MagicApeTV.com if you're listening to the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can always check out our podcasts on iTunes and Stitcher, Cinema Discussions. Find it there. Write to us at magicapetv@gmail.com. If there's movies in theaters that you want us to check out, let us know, and we'll get to those.
Good or bad.
Yeah, we'll check them out for you.
We'll watch the bad movies so you don't have to.
Yeah. Thank you for watching or listening to us. Goodbye.